Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice Radio, so today we're going to be looking at a new Prism Star card. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You see, I brought you news of Lost Thunder recently. I'll pop a link to that video in the description. And in that video, I told you we were going to be having free Prism Star Stadiums. Well, we've already seen Thunder Mountain, link in the description, and we've already seen Life Forest Prism Star, link in the description. We knew there was a third one coming. We have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming out in Explosive Impact, the Sun and Moon 8 set in Japan. It is the Fire Stadium, more on typings in a minute, and it is, according to David Hochmann, who of course provides our translation today, Heat Factory. What does it do? Well, according to David, you discard a fire energy from your hand once per turn and draw yourself 3 cards. And some of you may be thinking, hang on a second, Wassy, that sounds kind of familiar, and it should. Because Scorched Earth was a stadium that we got a little while ago, and then we got again in Fates Collide, though it is just about to rotate on the 1st of September before this card comes out. And Scorched Earth said that once during your turn you could discard a fire energy from your hand and draw 2 cards. But that was a regular stadium. You could play it 4 copies in your deck, and when they went away you could recover them. Not the easiest thing to recover stadiums, but maybe you use a Gardevoir, or maybe before it got banned you use Puzzle of Time. This is a Prism Star card. So as a quick reminder, Prism Star cards mean you can only have 1 of each in your deck. You can have as many Prism Star cards as you like, but only 1 of each. And when it gets used and discarded, it goes to the Lost Zone. So it is very much a once per game kind of thing. Now, yes, it does have that same rule that we saw with Life Forest Prism Star and Thunder Mountain Prism Star. That is to say, it cannot be affected by supporter cards or item cards. At the moment, essentially it means your opponent can't field blower it away, but there's no saying that we won't get other cards in the future that will be blocked by this rule, and now that we're free for free on this rule, let's just all agree that this is a thing and it's going to stay around, and these Prism Star Stadiums are going to be immune to items and supporter cards. Alright, that sounds pretty nice. And remember what I said with the others. There will be games where you get this for the entire game even though you're only playing 1 copy of it. So your opponent can't use a field blower. They've essentially got 2 choices. Either they use an attack to get rid of the stadium, maybe something like Groudon from Celestial Storm, but just have a think for the moment. How many Pokemon that are being regularly played have an attack which can discard a stadium? At the moment, as far as I'm concerned, there's basically 1. It's Remoraid, which is used because you can evolve it into Octillery. Both of those cards are rotating. I don't think we're going to really have any cards that discard stadiums, in terms of attacking anyway, which means that the only way your opponent can realistically get rid of this is to play their own stadium. So you will occasionally come up against players that are not playing any stadiums. And when you do, this will stay for the entire game. That, ladies and gentlemen, is crazy, crazy good. So, if you can get it to stick for the entire game, clearly it's amazing, and I don't think I'm going to need to spend much time convincing you to play this card. But what about when it doesn't? What about when you're playing against that deck that's playing 4 Brooklet Hill, so you know you're going to have this for 1 turn, maybe 2 at the most? I think the opening gambit here is, it's a one of in every fire deck. It's extra draw power is always good. Now, the counter argument to that is that Scorched Earth did not see play in every fire deck. In fact, Scorched Earth didn't see all that much play. But essentially, this is a difference between Shauna and Cynthia. Cynthia is way better than Shauna because 6 cards is way better than 5. So Heat Factory is way better than Scorched Earth because 3 cards is way better than 2. I think if you're playing a fire deck, you have to play this card. I think you've got to put 1 copy in there. But it's not the easiest card to use because it's a Prism Star and it's a stadium, so it's hard to search out. And you can only put one in your deck, so you ain't going to find it that easily. Then when you do find it, you've got to also have a fire energy in your hand in order to actually use the effect of it, and then it's probably going to be replaced pretty much straight away. I'm not as high on this as I am the other Prism Star Stadium cards. Now, the good news is you can search it out using Lizia. Lizia does allow you to search for 2 Prism Star cards, but then in fire decks, what are you playing? The answer is Victini. And actually, this does combo really nicely with Victini Prism Star. So Victini Prism Star's got a great attack, whereby you shuffle all your basic energy from your discard into your deck, and you do 20 damage for each energy you shuffle back. And this is just one more way to get energy in the discard, so actually, in a fire deck, you can use a Tapu Lele to search for Elysia, and then you can use that to search for both Victini Prism Star and Heat Factory Prism Star. So actually, in that respect, I don't mind it so much. But then again, Victini's not an early game Pokemon. You don't want to search it out early for fear that you may end up discarding it. You don't want to bench it early for fear that it may end up getting KO'd. So you don't really want to use Lizia to search for Victini early. But you do want to use Lizia to search for Heat Factory early. Now, maybe you use Tapu Lele to search for Lizia to search for Heat Factory, and that's your supporter for the turn, but then again, you could just get a draw supporter that draws you more than 3 cards, or even just get a Howl that searches you 3 cards. My point here is, it's not an easy card to search out. And really, this is one of those Prism Star cards where if it's sitting there for 3 or 4 turns, it's amazing. But if it's sitting there for 1 turn, you're just discarding a card and drawing 3. And I cannot help but be just a little bit underwhelmed. The other thing which is really important here is that pre-rotation in fire decks, we are playing Volcanion. Volcanion lets you attach 2 energy from the discard to 2 of your bench Pokemon, 1 to each. But post-rotation, we're all going to have to switch to Moltres. And the problem with Moltres is that Moltres attaches energy from your hand, not from your discard. So you don't want the energy in your discard, you want to keep it in your hand. And that's a problem, because you also want the energy in your hand to discard it to use Heat Factory. Now we are getting Fiery Flint. Yeah, the English scan of that was released by Pokemon. It's not called Flint, it's called Fiery Flint. Why would you not just call it Flint? But that aside, so you discard 2 cards from your hand and then you search for 4 energy and you can discard 1 of them to draw cards with this. And look, it's fine, but I cannot help comparing it to the other 2 Prism Star Stadiums, which are out and out fantastic. Thunder Mountain reduces your energy cost by 1 lightning energy. It's like an extra energy attachment. Except you don't have to have the energy in hand. It's amazing! Life Forest Prism Star is literally a Pokemon Center lady. So it's like having an extra supporter. You heal your special conditions, you heal 60. It's amazing! This is good! But is it Prism Star good? I'm not convinced. Now, Thunder Mountain was very similar to Dimension Valley, but Dimension Valley took a colourless cost off, Thunder Mountain takes a coloured cost off, which is usually much better. Scorched Earth drew 2 cards when you discarded a fire energy, this draws 3, okay, that's much better, but I'm not seeing that same gigantic leap. I mean, don't get me wrong, Zoroark draws you 2 cards when you discard 1, Swampert draws you 3, Swampert is better. But because Swampert's a stage 2, people are still going for Zoroark. I am not convinced this is good enough to be a Prism Star Stadium. It's good, and I still think it's a one-of in every fire deck. But I am not convinced that this is amazing. Don't get me wrong, right? I've made no secret of my love for Victini post-rotation. Both the Prism Star and the one that does 20 damage for each of your basic Pokemon in play. All these Japanese cards that I'm talking about in this video, I will link descriptions to the videos where I analyse them, the Prism Stars, the Victinis, etc. I'll pop links to all those videos in the description so you can go do some extra research. And in those Victini decks, yeah, of course, I'm going to be playing one of these. But it's not as good as Life Forest, and it's not as good as Thunder Mountain. What it does mean, however, we are clearly getting 1 Prism Star Stadium per Pokemon energy type. that's clearly happening. We've had lightning, we've had grass, we've had fire. Clearly, these are going to keep coming. And given that I tend towards fighting decks in the Pokemon trading card game, what's it going to be? Is it just going to be a reprint of Fighting Stadium? I mean, look, at this stage, ladies and gentlemen, you know there's a prediction video coming for all of the other types. I just need to sit down and look at what the tropes are of all those particular types. Let me know if you want a prediction video on what the other Prism Stars are going to do, because that's something that interests me quite a lot. As for this card, I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would, of course, be barbaric. It's a difficult card to score, because on the one hand, I look at it and go, well, it's not as good as the other Prism Star Stadiums. But on the other hand, I look at it and go, well, it's a one of in every fire deck. And I don't love it, but I see it being played in every fire deck. So how do I score it? Between 3 and 4 sounds fair. But I want to know what you think about this. So let me know in the comment section, am I being a bit down on it, or is it a bit underwhelming compared to the other two? Go nuts, but remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Do be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where that can be done. And do make sure you are checking out Wassy Plays for some Dragon Ball Super, Transformers TCG, and video game action. And I'm fairly sure there's going to be a video about new Dragon Ball cards coming out today, so make sure you head over to Wassy Plays to check it out. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.